Shri Prabhupada ki, Shri Yashoda Damodar ki, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Radhanath Radha Radhanath Radhe. Jaya Yashoda Damodara Yashoda Damodara Damodara. Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Tadati Swaparantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhurvevacha Patitanam Bhavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutle Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschitya Deshatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for attending the morning class. So today we will read from the Transcendental Diaries by Hari Sauri Prabhu, who records basically everything that Prabhupada did in his daily activities. So we are at volume 2, chapter 1. The dates are the 20th and 21st of April, 1976. So I'll just read a few extracts because it was quite long these 2 days. Just a few extracts and then touch on the important points and the lessons that we can learn from how Srila Prabhupada, what he preached, and from the way he interacted with everyone, and how he dealt with various situations. So Prabhupada is in Australia, Melbourne. It's the beginning of winter, and on this 20th of April, Prabhupada is engaged in preaching through various media, particularly the newspapers and televised interviews. So the following is just a little bit of an extract from the newspaper article in Melbourne Daily called The Age. This is what it says here. For unless we cultivate some spiritual knowledge, once His divine grace, we are left with the dog mentality. By this, he means a life in which people are conscious only of the needs of their bodies, eating, sleeping, sex. The defect of modern civilization, he said at Tullamarine yesterday, is that everyone thinks of his body, which is only a lump of matter. The person is the living pulse within the body, but we are giving more value to the lump of matter without any knowledge of the living pulse. His divine grace said the dog mentality was a barrier to knowing God and also a barrier to peace. As a dog is thinking, I'm a dog, you are thinking that I'm an American or I'm an Australian or I'm an Indian. That is gross ignorance. The dog is barking at things in the street and you are barking at things in the United Nations. The article went on to say that judging by the spiritual fervor of the devotees at the airport, his message had come through. While waiting for him to go through customs, they danced and chanted at an ever-increasing decibel level outside the door. Prabhupada was so pleased with the article, he asked Pushta Krishna Swami to send a copy to Jayapatika Swami in Mayapur to help with his preaching. He also had it put in the traveling file. So, from this little extract, we can see that Srila Prabhupada was determined to hit hard with the basic philosophy. He's calling society, having the dog mentality. If somebody said you have a dog mentality, you'll feel very offended. So Prabhupada did not hold back. Prabhupada was, this is the story, this is the situation, this is what you are, and this is where you need to go. So Prabhupada hit hard, dog mentality. Now, of course, this understanding that we have this dog mentality is because we have the problem of identifying still with our body. We still think that we are this body. Being this body is not just in theory, I have this body and then I have a spirit soul. It's much more than that. It's what defines this body. You may have a brown skin body, a black skin body, a yellow skin body, whatever color it may be. But there's more to that. There's your name attached to it. There's your situation or your place of residence that is attached to it. Your family attached to it. It's much more than just the actual physical body. So we may be practicing for many years and we may say, I know I'm not this body because Bhagavad Gita says we are not this body. But we still have attachments to family and so on. And we think that this is what we are supposed to do with our life. But we need to break all these attachments. Of course, we know from Bhagavad Gita 2:13, the famous verse, right? It basically describes that we are not this body, right? We will change, we will give up this body. Also in 2:22 Bhagavad Gita, it says, as a person puts on new garments, giving up the old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So not just the physical body, we're giving up our situation in this current life, and we're going to take a new situation. We're going to encounter new problems. It's like starting from scratch. We started in this life, we are born, we have to go to school, university, if so, work, grow old, and so on. Then we've got to start again. The situation changes, and when the situation changes, we have to restart. And so we'll keep doing this thing over and over again until we realize that none of this applies to us. Our real transcendental position is to serve Krishna. Otherwise, we have dog mentality. I'm a dog, I must bark, I must chew on the bone, and then every day the dog keeps doing that. You'll notice the dog when he wakes up in the morning, first thing he does is stretches his body, then he runs around looking for some nonsense to do. That's what we are doing. We're just trying to find new nonsense to do. And when we finish up, when the body gets too old in this lifetime, we put into a new lifetime to do new nonsense. To chase the bone, or to chase the ball, or to dig a hole in the ground. There's no point in all of this. So what we need to do is to change that dog mentality, D-O-G, to God mentality, G-O-D mentality. And so we need to focus on Krishna as God, because that is our true purpose. Otherwise, from the perspective of the great personalities and highly intelligent people, we look stupid. We look stupid. And so we have intelligence, we have this human body. Let us use the intelligence. Let us not give in to our senses and do nonsense day in and day out. And of course, if people are satisfied with doing nonsense day in and day out, okay. Remember, you are still in the material world. And when you are in the material world, you are subject to temporary things and misery. And of course, we know the fourfold misery, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. How many of us actually look forward to death without the understanding of Krishna conscious philosophy? Who's looking forward to death? No one's looking forward to death. I'm not looking forward to death. Right? It's a very scary thing. It's something that we do not know. The spirit soul does not know death naturally. It's a material concept. That's why we fear it. So no one's looking forward to death. No one's looking forward to getting diseased. I'm okay today, tomorrow I may get the flu. Then I can't do the things I need to do. I'm stuck in bed. I'm taking medication. Right? Who wants to get old? Nobody wants to get old. As it is, I've got a few gray hairs coming. I'm already terrified. Right? So nobody wants to get old. So these are miserable things that you have to endure in this material world. So a person who says that they are quite comfortable with the dog mentality and they're quite comfortable with the material world, they are in complete ignorance. So I'll continue. Later that morning around 11 a.m., Srila Prabhupada had 2 interviews. First interviewer was sympathetic, interested, and grasped Srila Prabhupada's meaning. The second interviewer was mostly skeptical, superficial, and had a materialistic viewpoint. So it says here, noting the youthfulness of the devotees, she wondered whether we really understood what we were getting into when we joined and why we were forced to live such Spartan lives. She asked, why is the temple decorated with rich material things? And why does the movement have such great financial resources if you are supposed to be spiritual? Prabhupada answered her questions adeptly. He said that the devotees are intelligent young men and women with good education coming from respectable families. Why would we follow him unless we were receiving something substantial? As for our way of life, he explained that the goal of life is to be happy, but birth, old age, disease, and death will check that. So just as one takes out life insurance, similarly Krishna conscious is the insurance to check these things. Therefore, it is the prime necessity of life. Anyone who wants to be happy has to accept some do's and don'ts, just as a diseased person has to agree to follow the regulations of the doctor. Prabhupada asked, what was the definition of material and spiritual? Then he said that everything in the temple is actually spiritual, but she did not have the eyes to see. Obviously preoccupied with our financial condition, Ms. Jarvis wondered about all the money we make begging in the streets. So Prabhupada explained that we collect thousands of dollars a day selling books, not by begging. But she asked why we sell the books and make money from them. Otherwise you'll not read it, Prabhupada told her. If I give you free, then you'll think, this is something nonsense. They are giving free. So when they pay for it, they will try to see what these books are saying. Let me see. And if you get free, then you may keep it in your rack for hundreds of years. So that is not but after all, we have to print these books. So who will pay for that? We have no money. But Ms. Jarvis wanted to know what happens to the rest of the money that is collected in the streets. Prabhupada answered, we are increasing our movement. We are opening centers. We are printing more books. These are my books. I have a Bhaktivedanta book trust. That is my will. And I have given in my will that 50% of the collection should be spent for reprinting the books and 50% should be spent for spreading the movement. So there is no question of material profit. So here we can see that Srila Prabhupada, he wants to convince everyone and awaken everyone to the dormant Krishna consciousness. Right? Everyone only has the material eyes at the moment. They have forgotten God consciousness. When they walk into this temple room, the materialists will first think, wow, such an amazing temple. Who paid for this? We can't even afford a flat. Who paid for all of this? These people are so-called, poor. I mean, look at what they're wearing. So that's the materialistic point of view. But, it'll be very difficult for a non-God conscious person to think, that Krishna is providing all of this. At the lotus feet of Lord Narayan, who is seated there? Mother Lakshmi. So Krishna has all the wealth. Krishna has all the wealth, and he is providing, he is helping us in our service to Guru. So of course the interviewer was clearly suffering from the 4 defects of human life, right? The main one being illusion, right? And of course the other 3 are to be cheated, to make mistakes, and imperfect senses. So this interviewer, again, with the materialistic point of view, she's an illusion. She cannot understand any of this. She's just thinking, oh, these people are making money and they're just using God to do it because probably something else didn't work. Then she probably thinks that Prabhupada has brainwashed these people. The young minds are susceptible to all of these manipulations. So she thinks, there's some trickery going on here. But clearly, she does not understand, unfortunately. Right? Of course, as devotees, we give our profits to the service of Krishna. We try not to use our money to do other things. If we get some, extra cash, we give it to the service of the temple. Of course, rather than that, there is always an opportunity to give in some extra profit to the service of the Lord. Otherwise, what are we using our money for? If we have some extra cash and we're not using it for our essential needs, for example, food or shelter, then where are we using it? And those places that we are using it, is it beneficial to our Krishna consciousness, or is it gaining for us more karmic reaction? That we have to be very careful of. Like just now, Diwali is coming up. Most of our cash is going for the fireworks, right? I hope not. Now, what is the purpose of that? Is it going to benefit spiritual life? Is it really going to benefit spiritual life? Or are we again in the dog mentality? So, carry on here. After the interview, Srila Prabhupada continued to preach to the interviewer, explaining that no one is truly happy in the world. She explained that Srila Prabhupada's disciples are like dogs on a chain and obey his every command. But it says here, but all of these people have a mouth, and you do the same to them, she replied. You call them, and they jump. That's the same as dog coming to its master. Prabhupada said, yes, but to have a real master and to have a false master, just like a physician. A physician is also with a knife, and the rogue is also with a knife. When the physician says, you lie down, I shall have some surgical operation, he agrees to ply on his body the knife. But he'll never agree if he knows that he is a rogue. He'll simply cut my throat. That is the difference. But superficially, you see both of them are with knife, but one for real happiness, one for false thing. Ms. Jarvis remained unconvinced despite the logic of Srila Prabhupada's argument. I find it hard to see the difference, she said skeptically. Yes, Prabhupada assured her. You find out how to go to a physician, agree to his proposal, then you'll be cured. Otherwise, you'll have to suffer with that boil, always burning, 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 burning. Prabhupada, when he answers these questions, he's just so meticulous and so perfect. If somebody asks me the same question, I'll stumble for a bit. Prabhupada was perfect in his answers. So what Prabhupada is trying to do here is he's trying to develop the trust in Krishna and Krishna conscious process through some logical argument. But of course, this interviewer, as much as at this point in time she did not really grasp what Prabhupada is saying, but she gets mercy. However, if you really want to develop your Krishna consciousness, if you want to trust the process, you have to first do something, right? Test it out, test the waters, as they say. Come and do some service. If you see the devotees chanting on the street, right, you'll see them, you may back off, but you'll be curious. But if you really want to know something, dive into it, right? Of course with caution, but dive into it. And then, but of course with Krishna consciousness, it's perfect. So you're not going to be cheated, you're not going to be an illusion, right? It's perfect. But the materialistic person does not know that. They are just thinking it's some other cheap trick. But get them to do something, just something. And if you can get them to do something, they begin to trust. They begin to see the devotees. The devotee is a genuine person. He's looking out for me. He or she is looking out for me. They're not trying to cheat me into giving money. They're not trying to cheat me into doing work for the temple and not getting paid. They will start to see that by reading the Shastra and then by engaging in the service, they will start to trust the process of Krishna consciousness. And once you get the trust of the person and start to believe, right, that this process works, you'll see that they will become a fully fledged devotee. That's how it works. But initially if we go out and this person is not giving money or this, try some other way. We're not trying to get anything from this person. We're trying to bring them in. So just be kind, show them kindness. At least show them kindness. They'll remember, oh, that Hare Krishna person, he didn't beg me for my money, but he showed me kindness. So that's the way that we can bring people to Krishna consciousness. And that's what Prabhupada is trying to do. He's not just, punishing her for not accepting it. It takes time. Of course, for us devotees, once we are in here, in this movement, I think we already have a initial trust and faith. Right? We've passed the Shraddha portion of things. Now we have a spiritual master. And of course, our trust is completely in the spiritual master. Right? We don't really look too much left, too much right. Whatever the spiritual master says, that is what we follow. That is our law. Right? Because of course, the spiritual master, right, being the spiritual master, he knows exactly what we need. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Shri Prabhupada ki. So the spiritual master, now that he knows we trust even just a little bit, right, he will now give us further instructions on how to develop, right, our Krishna consciousness and our bhakti. Right? The spiritual master is like the school teacher. They may show you an example and you may do the wrong thing the first time. Right? Being a school teacher, this happens all the time. So you'll do it wrong the first time. We don't punish them and hit them with a shambok and all of that. You go back to them. Right? You show them, okay, you went wrong here. Right? Try this again. They'll probably get it wrong the second time. You go back again. You try a different way now of getting them to do it. Eventually, after many times, they will get it right. That is what the spiritual master is trying to do. He will scold you and he will scold you and he will chastise you over and over again because you keep doing the same thing. You keep writing 1 + 1 is 3. Meanwhile, he's telling you it's 2, but you are still writing 3 because you are still in conditioned life. So we have to just trust the spiritual master. He may chastise us day in and day out, but we follow his instructions very strictly and try our best. And of course, we pray for the mercy. Of course, those who are in between, who do not have a spiritual master but does have some trust, when you're picking your spiritual master, pick that person not based on how they look or how they present themselves or who's the most popular. Pick that person who, of course, comes from the parampara, who is bona fide, who is following regulative principles properly, and choose somebody that you can develop a relationship with because that person can help you. Right? Choose that person who can help you to grow. You may not find a connection with one particular guru, but you may have connection with another. So that person there will be able to help you. Of course, we show respect to all the Vaishnavas and all the senior devotees, and any devotee and any other spiritual master is considered as guru. You must remember that. They may not be Diksha Guru, but they are Shiksha Guru, and they also give genuine instruction. I'll carry on. So this is now April 21st. Srila Prabhupada took his morning walk around the perimeter of the Botanic Gardens, accompanied by the devotees. Guru Kripa told Srila Prabhupada that his father used to say, "The good Lord is protecting me." So Prabhupada questioned why he would be protected and not others. Why doesn't God protect when there is an atomic bomb? In Europe, they are very, very much afraid of the next war. They are very much frightened. They have suffered 2 big world wars. So why does God not protect them? Simply your father's term has not yet come. To illustrate this point, Prabhupada explained, one cow dung is just passed through and the other cow dung is being burned. So this cow dung is laughing, "Oh, you are burned." He does not know he will be dried up and he will be burned. So your father's logic is like that. I am protected, laughing at the death of others. So here I think Prabhupada is trying to show us that we should not just take God's mercy so cheaply. It does not come so cheaply and so easily. Right? Of course, as devotees, we have to keep practicing day in and day out. Just the other, I think it was last week or the previous week, sometimes the mercy may come and sometimes it may not come. Right? Raj mentioned that. So we must keep practicing our sadhana. Of course, this person's father, Guru Kripa's father, right? He amongst many people, right, are thinking that God will protect me, but we must realize that the whole point of why we are suffering is because we have forgotten Krishna. We have forgotten Krishna, we have forgotten his pastimes, we have forgotten what it's like to be in association. Everything about Krishna we do not know. We are lost. And so sometimes we think, when the situation is beyond us, that, oh, God will protect me. But what are you doing to gain God's protection? If you do not hire the security company, how will they protect you? But of course, we're not trying to hire Krishna, right? But the point is that where is the relationship with Krishna? Where is the relationship? So, of course, our real constitutional position, right, is Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. We must hear, we must chant, we must remember Krishna. That's how you develop relationship with Krishna. And when you develop relationship, then you can serve Krishna. Krishna, of course, when he protects you as the spirit soul. He doesn't consider so much the material body. The body will change. That's not what he's concerned about. He protects you, your spiritual life, you. For example, now that Diwali is coming up soon, in the Ramayana, who were the army of Lord Ram? Were they human beings? They were monkeys, right? They were monkeys, but they were devotees of Lord Ram. They were devotees. So can you see that the body, right, does not matter to Krishna? Krishna will accept anybody because ultimately everyone is spirit soul. Everyone's a servant of Krishna. One who acts on that point of being a servant of Krishna, then Krishna will come and protect you. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.8, Paritranaya Sadhunam, right, to deliver the pious. The pious are those who have taken to Krishna consciousness. And because they've taken to Krishna consciousness, Krishna comes and he protects them. That's what he does. He comes to protect them, his devotees. If you're not his devotee, that means that person does not care so much about Krishna. So Krishna will, you carry on doing what you want to do. But for the devotees, Krishna will come. So later in the car, Srila Prabhupada wanted a mistake to be corrected in Bhagavad Gita. It says here, while talking about cow protection, he had asked Pushta Krishna to look up verse 1844. When Pushta Krishna read the verse aloud, Prabhupada noted a mistranslation of an important word. So today he told him, immediately inform Rameshwara. In the Bhagavad Gita, yesterday they have edited cattle raising. But it is not cattle raising. Cattle raising means to grow and killing. That means the rascals, they have edited. Hayagriva edited. He thought cattle raising. Not cattle raising. It is mistranslation. It is Go Raksha, giving protection to the cows. It is especially mentioned, Go Raksha, not otherwise. The animal eaters may take other animals, but not cow. They can take the pigs, goats, lambs, rabbits, so many others. If they want to eat meat, birds, there are so many. There is no such mention that animals should be protected. No, cows should be protected. That is Krishna's order. They have decided to kill the cow. They have decided, no brain, eat. And our prayer is Go Brahmana Hitayacha, to do good to the Brahmanas and the cows. Actually, it is revolutionary to the modern age. But how is it possible? We can say otherwise. So again, Srila Prabhupada is thorough in his preaching here. Right? He picked up cattle raising. Cattle raising again, it means that, so we are growing some cows and then eventually we were going to kill them. But no, Prabhupada is thorough. Every word was important. That is why when Prabhupada spoke, everything he said, everything he wrote was absolute perfection. And that is why it's so good for us to read Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's lectures, and all of that, so we can pick up all these things. And so when we are preaching, we are not making this mistake. We may say cattle, we are cattle raising, and then somebody goes and says the Krishna conscious movement is cattle raising, and then they're killing cows. So we have to be very, very thorough in our preaching. Of course, here Prabhupada is giving great emphasis on cow protection, particularly the cow protection. And why is that? Is because, of course, the cow is one of the 7 mothers, and the cow is also very dear to Krishna, and the cow produces milk, which is given to society for their enrichment. Yeah? So, if you remember Maharaj Parikshit, he wanted to protect the cows. Once Maharaj Parikshit was on his way to conquer the world, and he saw the master of Kali Yuga was lower than a Shudra, disguised as a king and hurting the legs of a cow and a bull. And the king, of course, caught hold of him and dealt sufficient punishment. Maharaj Parikshit was somebody who knew how beneficial the cow is, and he was basically taken on Kali Yuga himself, right, or herself, right, to stop the killing of the cow. Because to kill the cow means to end human civilization. Prabhupada has mentioned this. To kill the cow is to end human civilization. Imagine society, all of society, or at least most of it, is killing the cow. You are killing your mother. All of the world is killing their mother. And then they want to enhance society and advance society. So they're making technologies to fool everyone. But you are killing the cow and then you are eating its flesh. You are killing your mother and then eating. It's a bit gruesome, but that is the situation. Right? So 3 things, the Brahmanical culture, God consciousness, and cow protection, is where society needs to focus on. When you lose track of these 3, your society will break down. Right? They will fall deeper and deeper into ignorance, and there will be no hope of establishing God consciousness. So Prabhupada, right, he ensures that we must give cows protection. We must protect them. Even when we buying our milk from the shop, right, a cow has given milk and we are taking that milk. Of course, as devotees, we are offering that milk. But can you imagine that some non-devotee has purchased that milk, did not offer it to Krishna? That cow that gave its milk has now lost its life. And it's a very, very sad situation in this world. And our whole purpose is to also preach about cow protection. You know, sometimes you get these really staunch meat eaters. They say, I can never give it up. I will never do it. And then they ask me, what do I eat? And then they like to say that I eat grass. So these people, of course, are in complete ignorance, and it's going to take many, many years, in some cases lifetimes, to help them. But, you know, at least we'll tell them, you know, of all the meat, at least give up eating the cow. Because I think we all know, if you eat the meat of a cow once, for every hair on that cow, there is that many lifetimes you have to take. Right? So, of course, these people do not know these things, and they will carry on doing it, and they will be stuck in this world, this material world. So we must try our very best to preach about cow protection as well. So the next part here is, so Guru Kripa Swami thereafter questioned Srila Prabhupada about Siddha Swarupananda Maharaja's group and motives. It says here, they also criticize ISKCON devotees for strong preaching tactics and have their own approach, which is designed to avoid generating controversy with the public. Being aware of their activities in the South Seas area, Guru Kripa said that he felt they were suffering from the same disease. They were not following what Prabhupada was doing, but have created their own way to spread Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada affirmed this. Yes, that idea is there. Although he always encourages them to chant and maintain the regulative principles, Srila Prabhupada frankly analyzed Siddha Swarupa and his followers. They are thinking of their own way. That is bad. We have got so many literatures. They are printing their own literature, and that is disturbing. Yes. What he'll prepare. He's not a liberated person. He's thinking. Somebody said that I'll give my interpretation on Bhagavad. If these things are going, they are against our principles. Expressing faith in Prabhupada's direction, Guru Kripa Maharaj said, you know how to spread Krishna consciousness. Therefore, I follow. I don't even know what Krishna is. I'm just trying to follow. Therefore, that will be successful. That is my preaching, Srila Prabhupada said. But Krishna said, you say it as it is. Don't change how you give interpretation. And if he thinks that he can give another interpretation, what is this nonsense? Then he's not following Guru or Krishna. Both. Guru, Krishna, Kripaya. One has to receive the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Through Guru, Krishna's mercy. So again, Prabhupada here emphasizes the instructions, the importance of the instructions of Guru without deviation. You know, when something I thought about a while back, you change one word of what Prabhupada said, you are creating a whole new philosophy. That's what happens. For example, the cattle raising. You change one word, the philosophy is lost. And now you've created your own philosophy, and then you are sort of copying what Prabhupada said. If you think about it, you are just copying what Prabhupada said, but because you change one word, is now your philosophy. So you're not going to get any benefit from that. In fact, you're going to get, I would think, sin. So I'm not trying to be extremely harsh on everyone, but we have to be very, very careful on how we preach and what message goes out. Because what may happen is that we may actually blaspheme devotees by doing that. Right? So again, it's very, very important to read the scriptures and read what Prabhupada says and how to tackle these various situations. We must remember that the instructions come from the spiritual master through the parampara from Krishna himself. Spiritual master knows what Krishna desires. So when the spiritual master tells you to do something or to say something or whatever it is, it's because this is what Krishna wants. Now if you say, no, I don't want to do this, then you don't want to do what Krishna wants. So what kind of a devotee are you? Okay, so whenever Krishna or whatever the spiritual master gives you, do it as it is. For example, if the spiritual master says, bring me water. I heard this example by Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He says, give me water. And the devotee goes and asks the other devotee, and he says, give me water. And then the devotee gives that devotee a glass of water, and the devotee drinks it. So what kind of understanding is that really? Right? So when the Guru Maharaj or when the spiritual master gives instruction, right, you must understand the instruction properly and then do as it is. Also, the spiritual master knows what you need and instructs accordingly. So I've mentioned this point, right? The spiritual master is like a school teacher, right? You can also think of him as a doctor. When you get sick, you go to the doctor, he will give you, okay, you take 2 tablets twice a day or so on. Now, if you start taking 5 tablets 5 times a day, right, you're going to end up killing yourself probably, right? So we have to take the instruction of the spiritual master as it is. Do not change anything, because he knows exactly what you need. Right, so I'll continue here. So Srila Prabhupada had time to address the mail since there was no visitors that morning. Puragyana Das Prabhu was managing the Spanish-Portuguese BBT and requested advice from Srila Prabhupada on printing Bhagavad Gita as it is, since funds were low. Feeling uncertain about what to do, Puragyana therefore presented some alternatives for Srila Prabhupada's consideration. We would like to know if we can or should do one of the following. A. Print the full version only, despite the higher cost. This will be $2.25. B. Remove the Devanagari script only to reduce size. That will cost $1.75. C. Remove the Devanagari and word-for-word meanings, which would reduce the size of the book rather substantially for us and would be my own preference. That will cost $1.25. Or D. Print the fully abridged version, which will bring the price down to a level where the distribution is bound to be very, very large, less than $1. He added that Hridayananda Maharaj, the Spanish BBT trustee, was convinced that at $1 or less, individual distributors may be able to sell 200 books per day. Apart from this, Puragyana reported that they are about to send another Srimad Bhagavatam volume and the first of the Krishna books to the printers. The Portuguese Bhagavad Gita is now being typeset, and the Portuguese Back to Godhead is almost complete. At the end of his letter, he mentioned that all the devotees are eagerly awaiting Srila Prabhupada's arrival in the USA. Prabhupada was pleased to hear this report. He chose the $1.25 option. This option here would be to remove the Devanagari and word-for-word meanings, which will reduce the size of the book rather substantially. So he chose that option for the printing because it will keep the cost down but still allow the full purports to the verses to be included. He encouraged Puragyana to continue with book distribution. Here Srila Prabhupada, he makes us realize how important his purports are. Right? Don't worry too much about all the other ones. Just have the translation and the purport, because what good is it giving some Sanskrit verses to a person who does not know God consciousness? What message will they get? I doubt they will receive anything. You may even give the translation sometimes to them. They may not understand it. But you give the purports, at least given by Srila Prabhupada, you give the purports to the person. They may start to understand what Krishna consciousness is. And that is the mercy of Guru. So Prabhupada was not too concerned so much about, at the time at least, and the situation, the Devanagari scripts, right? But he wanted, as it says here, he chose the $1.25 option for the printing because it will keep the cost down low, and you will have the full purports to the verses to be included. So the purports are, some devotees even claim they are more important than the translation, right? So that is Srila Prabhupada's mercy there. And then we can also note there that the devotees who are waiting for Srila Prabhupada, the separation between guru and disciple, I of course do not know this yet, but to think about it is that the guru That is practically the person who loves you the most in this world and beyond. Because what the Guru does for the person who takes initiation from him, he takes away, at least he holds all your sin there. Which person in this world can do that for you? Say, I will hold all your sin for you here. You continue with your path of pure bliss and happiness. Which family member can do that for you? Which friend can do that for you? But here is somebody who has come and says, I will help you on your eternal blissful path. This person, right, who is your spiritual master, he is somebody who will love you beyond anything else. So the separation between guru and disciple, they are just waiting for Prabhupada. They want to see this person who loves them. Right? They want to engage in a relationship and serve Krishna ultimately. Of course, this sort of relationship is the best, and we should always try to serve our guru as best as we can. Let's not hurt his feelings by not doing what he asked us to do, right? Because of course he also loves his spiritual master, and ultimately it is all for Krishna. So I just got a few more minutes left. So at the evening Aarti, the devotees engaged in ecstatic kirtan and heard from Srila Prabhupada. After half an hour of energetic chanting and dancing by the devotees during the evening Aarti, Srila Prabhupada continued his lectures on Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 3. He spoke strongly, describing as doggish the mentality of the so-called modern civilization and their United Nations. He said that the real United Nations is here. When one sees others as souls trapped within matter, that is the basis of unity. Otherwise, the sense of being American, Australian, or Indian is the same sense a dog or cat has in identifying with its body. Then there is simply fighting due to their different outlooks. At the end of his talk, he answered a few questions, and then he stepped down from the Vyasasang to leave amidst the roar of a vibrant kirtan. So here again, Prabhupada is speaking strongly. He's bringing about this dog mentality again. And I think sometimes we need to be constantly reminded that we have this dog mentality. It may not be so great as it was yesterday, right? But it is still there. It is still there, and we have to keep reminding ourselves that do not give in to sense gratification, right? Practice self-control, mind control, right? By constantly reading the scriptures. So here Prabhupada is saying that, sense gratification, what the United Nations, the so-called United Nations are trying to do is not helping because there's no God consciousness. And people are just giving into sense gratification and the desire to be godlike. That's why there's so much fighting. I want to be better than you. That is godlike mentality. You want to be God again. Of course, God is at a very low position, but the godlike mentality is there. And so because of this godlike mentality that we want to be God all the time, there is quarreling in Kali Yuga, fighting for the position of being the best. And then just to end off, the last part is, on his way out of the temple yesterday evening, one of the visitors gave Prabhupada a gold chain as dakshin, along with a letter in which he suggested that Prabhupada might either offer it to the deities or keep it himself. He decided to give it to the pujaris for Srimati Radharani. So, this evening, as he slowly made his way out of the temple room through crowded lines of devotees, he spotted the donor in the throng. He called her forward to inform her of his decision. The girl was so overwhelmed by being personally spoken to by his divine grace that she couldn't understand what he was saying. So Pusta Krishna Swami had to explain to her. She was deeply satisfied and honored to get personal recognition from Srila Prabhupada. That is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. He loved everybody, even this person who just came and gave this necklace. Prabhupada didn't keep it for himself. Of course, he gave it for the service of Krishna. And he even took the time out to remember that person and go to that person and speak to that person. That is Srila Prabhupada. He changed the entire world, but yet he had time for every single individual. And even, such a great personality, even after he is departing from his physical body, his message is still going out there. That is the love that he left for all of us. And, it is our duty and responsibility now to not take advantage of that, but to take it and give it to others now. Where he is not physically present, it is our duty to continue his mission. So that is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And, as me being a devotee, trying my best, we can never, there is no end to the amount of, reciprocation that I can give to Srila Prabhupada. He has given more to me than I can ever give at any time to him. So devotees, I'll end off there. Thank you very much for listening in. Shri Prabhupada ki, Shri Yashoda Damodar ki, Hare Krishna. If there's any questions you'd like to ask, I will attempt to answer to my best of my ability. There's also some senior devotees around who can assist. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.